Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Monday Special. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. We're delving into a discussion about mental illness with a focus on suicide. Here's a graphic, and this is a number that I read just moments before the break. Let's see if we can bring that up. And that's that in Kenya, an estimate of 7,128 suicide-related deaths per year. Right, so let's introduce our panelists. Right across from me, we have Dr. Catherine Mutisia, who is a consultant psychiatrist, who will take us through the numbers, signs, and solutions as well. How can you help someone who is dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts? Next to Catherine, we have David Njuguna. David is living with depression. He was once suicidal, but he'll tell us a little bit more about the organization he's working with, how he's managing it or how he's overcome it, and perhaps shed some light into this issue. And then finally, we have Kendi Ashitiva, who is the founder of Nisikize. It's a call center that's able to help people deal with these issues. People are able to call in, share their issues. There are psychologists on the other side of the line, and we'll actually show that number later on, so that it's something that you can take note of. Thank you all so much for coming on Monday Special. Dr. Mutisia, let me start with you. And this is another statistic that I read, that at least 1 in every 4 Kenyans will suffer from mental illness at one point in their lives, according to health experts. That's 11.5 million people. What are we talking about here when we say mental illness? Which ones are we referring to?
Yeah, basically the commonest would be anxiety disorder, which is general, you worry about aspects of your life. Then we also have depression. Yeah. We also have substance use disorders, including alcohol use disorder. Yeah. We also have the severe ones like schizophrenia, like bipolar, and of course the ones which will show at childhood, which we commonly forget, like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, conduct disorder, and social personality disorders. So it's a quite a wide range
of yes. And it's saying that that 1 in every 4 Kenyans will suffer. Experts have warned. So why are we seeing this trend on the rise?
Okay, there are many factors which would predispose one to suffer a mental health condition or a mental illness. Could be things within oneself, or it could be the environment, or it could even be a mixture. Okay. And we are seeing more stresses with life, probably even more financial issues. Our society is breaking down because social connectedness is very important in promoting mental health. So as societies become urbanized, you find that the connections are no longer there. So those are some of the things which are leading to that. Before I move on to David and finally Kendi, over 7,000 Kenyans, that's about 7,128 is what we saw, are committing suicide each year. Have we seen a rise in the number of suicides and suicidal attempts in Kenya in the last few years? Yes, the numbers could be more because for one, suicide in Kenya is still a taboo topic. It's considered a curse in some communities. It's even illegal that I may not confess that I have attempted suicide because I could be arrested. So we find the numbers could be high. In fact, we have over 20 times that number attempting suicide, and that's why we on the World Day again on preventing suicide.
It was the World Suicide Awareness Day. Is that it? Prevention Day. That passed about 2 days ago on Saturday, the 10th of September.
We were emphasizing on the theme which was connect, communicate, and care, so that we can prevent suicide. Because we can prevent suicide.
Connect, communicate,
and care.
Yes. That's powerful. Yes. All right. David, let's move on to you. Tell us a little bit about your story. When did you start to realize that you had an issue?
That was in 2005 when I left the country for Canada for a short course in 6 months on community-based development. On arrival, I realized that I had lost my job back here with 3 children and a family to live with, to raise. I got depressed and suicidal at the same time. So I had sworn to myself never to come back home alive, and I was very sure that if I come without a job, it's not me, but my body will be brought back here. So 2005 to 2013, when I came back to this country, until now is about 11 years. Significantly, as Dr. Catherine is saying, for 11 years, my condition was never diagnosed correctly. And I had been admitted into a mental facility in Canada 2 times. When I came back here, like Avenue, Go Hospital, it's only last month that it was diagnosed as an ADHD.
Right.
After 11 years.
Attention, could you say to the viewers just so that they just spell it out?
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Okay.
So it's a mental disorder. So all this time I was suicidal, but I never knew what to do. But lately, because depression, as she has said, comes with it camouflages because it is the only sickness in the world that doesn't have anything to measure.
Right.
So your body and behavior is the only thing that is a sin. So my coping mechanism was drinking. As a Christian, born-again pastor, somebody who is very highly profiled in the community, nobody wanted to believe that it is depression. They only said, you went to Canada and now you're here, ulikuja na uzungu, so style up, grow up, mature, behave,
pray.
I mean, pray.
Yeah.
So the stigma out there is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to associate, you're branded, nobody wants to associate you with the sickness. So right now I am on medication, the proper medication, because previously I was only on antidepressants. Right now I'm taking the correct medication and I can live a comfortable life. You look at me like this, nobody would even tell that I have...
I was just going to say, that's interesting. I think that's another issue, is that a lot of the people are well put together.
Yes.
And, you know, they look like it could be any one of us. And so someone says, but you look fine, you look happy, you look like, you know, you're wearing a nice suit, you look like life is doing well. How can you be depressed?
Not even depressed, suicidal.
Oh, how can you be suicidal?
I attempted suicide 2 times.
Wow.
And the signs that I gave out were really out, because I'm told that I live in Kikuyu. I am told that I came home drunk, yelling that I'm going to kill myself and kill my wife. The best they could do is only tell my wife to go to the police station, and nobody could pick it up that this guy is sick. He needs a hospitalization. So this is the stigma out there that we need to fight out, and it's a journey that we have to win.
I'll come back to you later about the signs and the symptoms, and I know that you have a very supportive family.
Definitely.
So that's a huge blessing. I know that because, you know, I've seen them in the building, so not everyone has that, so I think you're one of the lucky few. Kendi, let me move to you, and I'll just quickly give a profile of what Nisikize is. Nisikize is a 24-hour counseling call center, the first of its kind in the region. They offer 24-hour telephone counseling services at the touch of a dial, and so that's basically, essentially what it is. Where did you get the motivation to start Nisikize?
I think, Janet, I looked at the world, I looked at Kenya, our society, and I wondered, how come you can call to get pizza delivered? You can dial a cab now, you can get anything delivered at your doorstep, but when you're feeling suicidal, you have no one to talk to. When you can't figure out where your child is, when you can't figure out where your marriage is going, you have no one to talk to. Being a counselor myself, people would ask me, where do I get a counselor? I'm like, by the way, where do you get a counselor? Okay, it's really hard for the average Kenyan to find a therapist they can talk to. Another thing was, most charges are very expensive for the average Kenyan. Counseling can go up to 10,000 bob. If you can afford it, that's fine. But what about the average person who cannot afford it? The other thing is getting a therapist when you're having an emotional crisis. I wanted a place where people can call at the heat of the moment. You see, when you have a face-to-face counseling, which is actually the best form of counseling, you have to schedule with your therapist. I can't call them at 3 in the morning. I can't call them at 4 in the morning. What if I'm having a crisis at 4 in the morning? Who do I talk to? My friends will roll their eyes, like, get a life, or, you know. So that was the thing, to get like a 911 emotional and psychological call center. All right. And how often do you deal with callers saying, I don't think life is worth living, suicidal callers? Is that something you get a lot? Oh, yes. Not too much, but we do have people that call in with suicidal ideation, which is also called suicidal ideas. And they normally say words like, they don't say, I feel like killing myself all the time. They say, what's the point of living? I'm sick and tired of this. I can't take this anymore. Those are statements you look out for. I can't take this anymore. They'd also say, let me just leave them in peace. Especially women who are in abusive relationships. Maybe if I go, he's going to be okay, you know. So we get to hear that quite a lot. It's actually more than you'd expect.
On average, how many calls do you get in a day, would you say?
Wow, many. Let's just say that many.
Very many. And of course, maybe the more that the service is out there, the more people are calling. It's an indication of, like Dr. Mutisia said, just managing stress is becoming a huge issue in the country with no avenues.
And at the time, actually, we had to cancel someone in mother tongue. which was a good day for me, because the point is to get this service at every single Kenyan who can afford it. So this person called from Nyanza province, and fortunately that day we had a Luo in the call center. And we told her, talk to him in the language he understands, break it down for him in the language he understands, because the Mzungu way that we are taught, these theories may not always be easily taken by us Africans. So how do I customize this concept and this product for the Kenyan wherever he is?
Okay, that's great. So what are some of the signs, and again this is probably also what where David and Dr. Mutisa can come in, if someone is moving to that verge of from depression to now suicidal, are there any signs that someone can see off the bat?
Yes, actually there are signs which could present in your thoughts the way you speak. Somebody could say like, I'm worthless, there's no point of me living, or they could even start behavior ways, start handing over their property, or through their, they might look sad, they might feel, they might not get out of the room. So it could be the behavior, it could be the words, what they say, or it could even be how they look. Do they look sad? Do they look happy? Do they look withdrawn? So it's basically you have to observe the three aspects.
Okay. Yes. And also, as David, as you also answer, you know, what's the thin line? Because some people might be having a bad day, you know, and they're saying, I'm just done, this is too much. But when is it now a serious issue? When can someone tell, this is worse than me having a bad day? What is that line?
Okay, there's something called the blue something. So it is not just a bad day. This is a serious thing, because most of the people who have a suicidal ideation, most of them will have spoken out before. Like, remember about the young boy who committed suicide at the age of 10. He had talked about it one time before, but nobody takes these issues seriously. So the verbal, the non-verbal, giving out your things, like really even texting and talking about it. The only thing that we need, as Dr. Mutisia has said, is to connect. The non-verbal, listen with the heart, because you can see this person going down the drain, even speaking about it, but nobody takes it seriously. We only know about it afterwards. So the Kenyan community and the Christian fraternity, we need to listen. And even as the callers call, we have now Befriend Us Kenya, where you can call. We have now Neskize, and I know that Dr. Catherine is bringing, through the ministry, is bringing up all these organizations so we can be able to talk about it more freely. There are signs and symptoms which are going to be published so that people can be able to see, and they're there.
Okay, which is great. There was also the cop who posted, I think, that they were feeling suicidal and ended up. So what do we do when we see someone posting something on social media? What are the steps to take, especially if it's a friend, a family, someone who's concerned? And maybe, you know, Kendi, you can give yours, and also the doctor and David. So what do? You know someone close to you is, but you're feeling a bit helpless.
I think talk to them. Remember the issue of connectedness? Ask, how are you today? I saw your post. How bad are things? Talk to me, I'm here. At times, actually slow down and ask your friend, how are you really doing? How are you doing about your marriage? I remember you had an issue last time. Be direct about the questions. We say be warm and supportive at the same time, and still firm. How are the children? Normally we ask, how are you? Fine. It's a general response. I'm doing fine. I'm okay. I'm good. You know, cool beans, you know, and social media has given us a false virtual world that we live in. But it's good to ask questions. I saw a post on your page. How are you doing? You know, at times people, when they commit suicide, it's sometimes a cry for help, isn't it? It's a cry for help. No one is listening. That's why we come up in Skize. No one is listening. You're screaming for help. You're coming apart. And for most men, I'm glad he shared his story, it's financial. A lot of the callers we get who are men with those kind of thoughts, it's financial. Women, it's relational for the most part. This man, my children, this man, because of relational in nature. But for men, it's the pressure to provide, to pay these bills. And debt, my goodness, debt is driving this city up a wall. Okay, I'm glad the loans have gone down. But still, you know, living a particular standard is really hurting us.
Is there any do you get young people as well calling in? I know it's hard to say because it's based on anonymity, but do you get young people, do they say that they're in their 20s or 30s? Do you get that as well, and what are their reasons?
Yes, young people call cyberbullying. Would you believe? They call us because they've been cyberbullied.
And these are how old? These are people who are...
Adolescents, late adolescents, 18, 19, 20. Some of them have gone through either rape, never talked about it. Some of them are having sexual issues like they're lesbian or gay. Who do you tell you're lesbian? who in this city, and not be short, you know, so to speak, in quotes.
Yeah.
So others call cyberbullying unemployment. Oh, unemployment is real. It's really affecting us. Single mothers having a really hard time and having no one to talk to because they'll be judged by society.
So it's really a huge array of issues. And going back to what Dr. Mutisia is saying, it's just, I think the more we become less connected with each other and isolated, these issues just kind of spiral out of control. In a few moments, I don't know if my director can tell me whether we have any tweets, or if not now, I don't know whether we'll be able to bring any up. So let's see if we can bring up the number for Niskize. I don't know if we have that on the screen. And I think that's just, there we have it, 0900 620 800, that's correct?
That's it, that's it.
All right. Right, okay. In a few moments, we'll try and access the call center as well, helpline center, and see, you know, how we can get through. Dr. Mutisia, this is also, as you said, considered a crime. Is attempted suicide considered a crime in Kenya? Where do we lie with that?
It is, and that makes it worse. Because I may not want to talk about it because I don't know what you will think about it. Our society is also very religious, and if I talk of suicidal ideations, people will wonder what is wrong with me. Don't I believe in God? So the easiest thing would be to keep to yourself. But like Juguna said, if you are listening with your heart, you'll be able to pick some of those things. If you spend time with a loved one and they are disturbed, you'll be able to tell. These days it could just be absence from social media. Somebody has been very active on Facebook or WhatsApp, and all of a sudden they go missing. They never post anything. That could be the telltale sign. So you would need to connect with them and find out what is happening. I don't see you anymore. Yes.
All right. David, how long have you been on medication since the correct diagnosis was made?
Oh, it's just 2 months now. 2 months? And it's doing very well with me.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask, how are you doing now? How are you coping?
Very well with me.
Yeah.
And I wish it was diagnosed this way before.
Much earlier.
But now I'm seeing myself as a Moses who had to go to the wilderness for 40 years. Now I can be able now to tell
you share your story.
Exactly, share my story so that people can come out and really do much. She's talking about Penal Code 226. Penal Code 226 of the laws of Kenya is a criminal offense to attempt suicide. So I'm supposed to be in jail right now, even speaking about it live on TV. But now we're working together so that we can be able to decriminalize suicide.
I see. Okay, which would be a huge step. How has your family coped with it? What was it like? What's the journey been like for your family?
It's been tremendous love, support, and working together with me. You saw them in the building, my wife and the husband, son. I mean, they've worked with me, and that is the beginning of connectivity. I really appreciate my family for being there for me.
Okay, this is amazing. I think we have a few tweets, and then we'll try and get through to Niskize in just a few moments. All right, let's bring those tweets up based on the discussion. Fear of handling your stress and pressure and stigma from family, friends, or society plays a role in suicide. That's Diana. Right, Eric Ogi says, the more we discriminate against those affected, the more they take time to heal, and finally we mourn when they commit suicide. Okay, then we have S.E. Pretty. All of us are affected, if not infected. And finally, Ahmed says, the government must fast-track a healing center's rehabilitation to aid mentally trapped individuals. And I think that's a very big issue. In fact, Doctor, I don't know if you can confirm this with us. Kenya unveiled its first mental health policy that will focus the nation's attention on addressing mental illness. Have we seen more of a show of concern from the government, in your opinion, in terms of addressing mental health and facilities in the country?
Yes, we've seen a lot of commitment, and the role of the government is also to make sure that they bring together all the stakeholders, and that's why Juguna from Befriend Azia is telling us that even the government is bringing together all this, including Nisikize, and they can all be channels for Kenyans. The community is very important. School community, workplace. The government might not come to the school to manage, but the school has a role to monitor and see a disturbed child, link them up with the family, link them up with the for treatment. The workplace, they might pick something like that. So we are doing very well. We have an action plan, and we are rolling.
Okay. Before we get your final comments, I hear we've gotten through to Niskize.
Excellent.
I think there's someone on the line. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. My name is Catherine.
Okay, Catherine, you're actually live on Citizen TV, and we just wanted to dial in. We're here with Kendi.
Yes.
And just kind of know that the line is open and free and that it's working, and appreciate you and all the other councillors on the other end of the line for the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All
yes,
right.
we are live and we can hear you loud and clear.
All right, fantastic. That's all. All right, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of people that need your help, so I won't keep you for much longer. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's get your closing comments on this issue. It's certainly a discussion that, you know, has many layers to it. But Catherine, what would you want to say to Kenyans, to someone, especially to Kenyans, especially regarding how to deal with someone or support someone who is struggling with suicide?
I would say suicide is preventable, so we should not be losing those 7,000 Kenyans, and we can prevent suicide by first of all connecting. The community has its role. We need to improve and access mental health care, because many people, when they talk, they hear about being mentally healthy, they think it's absence of mental illness. Being mentally healthy is a situation where you are able to reach your potential, you are able to adjust to stress. If you lose your job today and you're not able to adjust that, then you need help. That help could be counseling, it could be need even medication and counseling, or it could even need more intensive treatment. So we all need to link up, we all need to check on each other, we need to connect, and we need to care for one another to prevent suicide. All right,
thank you so much for that. David, especially for you, there might be someone watching who is literally feeling like you had been for the last decade or so. Where can they start that process of healing? What would you want to say to them?
Okay, adding on top of Dr. Matisi's comments, depression or mental sickness is treatable through counseling and psychology, and suicide is preventable. I would urge those people to speak out, and their families and relatives and close friends to listen with the ear. I just want to say that most people speak about it, but again, and especially from the church perspective, it's not a weakness, it's not lack of faith, it is not a spiritual battle, it is a sickness just like cancer or hypertension or any other. So let us treat people who have suicidal ideation just like a sick person, like just any other person.
All right.
And reach out.
Thank you for your courage and all the best in your journey. I'm so happy that you're getting the help that you need, and so all the very best to you. And thank you for sharing your story.
That's true.
All right, Kendi, and I think before Kendi, maybe you can bring up the number one more time so that people can write it out. Kendi, your thoughts as well, and your parting shot to people who are struggling with this issue.
Okay, my thoughts are this. We'd like partnership, okay? Let the armed forces open their doors for counseling. Honestly, they're the ones suffering alone. The KDF, the police force, who's taking care of them? Who checks on how they are after they've gone out for war and come back, okay? So they're really hurting. The medical fraternity, working those long hours, dealing with death every day. Who's checking on you? Are you okay? Our children, our adolescents, they're living two worlds, the real world and the virtual world. A lot of the times the virtual world is an impression of who they want to be, but it's not who they are. And they're being raised by parents who do not live in the virtual world. So there's a disconnect in the home. So our children are really hurting. So please allow your children to approach mental health practitioners. Open your doors for us as organizations. Allow us to partner with you. A lot of our callers actually would call and say, I couldn't go to work today. So for HR people out there watching me, at times some sick-offs are not physical, and that's fine. Some sick-offs are psychological and emotional. Allow them to bring a letter from a therapist to say that I didn't go to work today, I wasn't physically unwell, but I was having an anxiety disorder.
Yeah, and
without being stigmatized. Without being stigmatized. So that's also a valid sick-off. Not saying, ni kuongea na mtu tu, tungekuja kazini tuongee na wewe. So we need that kind of partnership and alliances.
All right, and what's the call charge, by the way?
It's 7 shillings per minute.
7 shillings per minute.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Thank you again for those services. I think that's amazing, and I think we've shown the number, and hopefully people have taken note of it. Yes, there we have it. So it's 0900 620 800. That's 0900 620 800. 7 shillings per minute for that. Thank you all so much for shedding light on this issue and for just joining us tonight. And thank you for watching Monday Special. The hashtag is Monday Special KE. Keep the conversation going. I'm Janet Bogwandisho. Have a good night.